Hey everybody. So I'm really excited to be here to do my last live update of Sundance Film Festival. And I'm actually covering 3 days today of the festival and the sort of my conclusions about the whole thing. I ended up seeing 18 movies at the festival, which is crazy. And it's a good thing that I got the locals pass as opposed to a ticket package. That was the best decision ever because when you have the pass, you can just go right to the front of the line. You get into everything that you want to see. It was so worth it. I would definitely do it again in a heartbeat. It made my life way less stressful than last year when I just bought a ticket package. And there was a couple. There was one that was a rush, and I barely got in. And then there was one I didn't get in last year. And so yeah, I think 18 movies is pretty impressive. It's pretty good. And I could go tomorrow, but I'm going to be a good girl and go to church instead. And then we're celebrating with my family for my birthday tomorrow also. So should be pretty fun. And so I'm going to try to do a better job keeping track of the chat room today compared to the other nights. But these are mostly pretty interesting, solid films that I saw. So there's 6 movies that we're going to talk about today that I saw. The first, so we're going to start with Thursday night. And I saw 2 movies on Thursday. So the first, hey, Durbin, how's it going? So the first movie that I saw was called Butterflies. And this movie, I think it's Croatian. I'm not 100% sure. It's by a guy named Tolga Karakelic. And I thought this was a very funny movie. It's billed as a dark comedy, and hopefully it's screen is stopping. Okay, it's billed as a dark comedy. It's about these 3 siblings who are estranged, and they're estranged from their father. They get these notices that he's in poor health. They need to come. Turns out he has passed away, and so they have to kind of arrange the funeral and stuff. And all of these ridiculous things happen. And it has lots of, I thought, moments of nice heart. I liked the 3. It's a girl, a sister, and 2 brothers. There's one that's particularly like one that wants to be a astronaut, but Germany has an astronaut program, but they have no budgeting for the astronauts to actually go into space. And so he like shows up at the funeral in his astronaut costume outfit, which was really funny. And my favorite though is there's these chickens in the town that have eaten gunpowder, and it makes them explode. And it was so funny. I don't know, like I just never failed to just completely crack me up when these chickens exploded. And the one brother that's like really dry and really sarcastic, he had like chicken blood all over his body, and he couldn't find. And he gets to the house, and he's trying to turn on the water, and like the thing, the faucet, whatever, like keeps breaking off until the whole sink is broken off. And I don't know, it was just, and he's just getting more and more frustrated. And it was really, I thought it was really funny. I enjoyed it very much. It is subtitled, but I really liked it. It's called Butterflies. I would look out for it if you can. And like I said, also had some nice moments in it. Maybe it particularly rang true for me because I just came just this month. My grandpa died, and so I just was barely at a family funeral. That was sort of an interesting dynamic, that family funeral. So it just really rang true for me. Anyway, I recommend it. It was very good. And then I saw a documentary called Minding the Gap. And this was pretty cool. This is by a director named Bing Liu. And it's basically like he kind of followed his two of his friends from like the time that they were really young, and he just started filming them. And the movie kind of tells their 3 stories, and it's just amazing that he had like the foresight as such a young child to like start filming and interviewing his friends. And they talk about at one point, they're like, this is like therapy for us. And It has a lot of good skateboarding shots, but it's mainly about these three boys growing up into men, and also how domestic violence affects their lives, and how the three respond differently to abuse. One of them kind of becoming angry himself, and I don't know. It was really good. It was heartfelt. It was moving. I think that it's definitely worth a watch. It's also diverse. You have one of the boys ends up being gay. One of them is of like Asian descent, Korean descent, I think, and one is African American, and one is white. So that's sort of interesting too, to see how that affects their dynamics. And it's just it was a good documentary. It was one of those like fly on the wall kind of documentaries where you just sort of see these people's lives unfold, as opposed to like a message documentary that you sometimes get. So it was good. And so then we get to Friday. Friday, I also saw 2 movies, and the first one was called Leave No Trace. And this, I've seen a lot of movies that are sort of about people living off the grid, or like skewing sort of society and whatever, like Captain Fantastic and the Glass Castle. And I really didn't like either of those movies, especially the Glass Castle. And so this one is directed by a lady named Deborah Granick, and I guess she hasn't done a movie in 8 years, but she was pretty well known. A lot of people were talking about her at Sundance. And this made me really want to see her other films, because I loved this movie. I thought it was so great. It's the only one that I felt like captured the true, like was able to capture what kind of character would really live this way. And I thought that they didn't try to portray him as the hero. He's just this damaged person. So that made him really interesting to me. He's like this veteran who's just can't cope with society. And there's just a point where she kind of makes a decision towards the end of the movie, without spoiling it, but I was so proud of her. I don't know when I've been more proud of a character in a movie. I thought it was really good. I thought that Ben Foster as the dad was really good. He's in Hell or High Water, if you'd seen that. And also the girl was excellent. I thought really good. Her name is Thomasin McKenzie, I think is her name. I don't know. I just thought it was great. It was moving. It was thoughtful. It was thought-provoking. And I highly recommend it. Leave No Trace. Look out for it. And you'll see when I do my ranking of the movies from the festival where it ended up. It was so good. And you say, I'm not big on message documentaries personally. I think fly on the wall is probably my preferred method. Yeah, I agree with you. Even if the message is something that I like and that I agree with, I just don't like, I feel like I don't really like watching propaganda films. So that's what I feel like those message movies turn into. And I usually don't agree with them. So, okay. So Leave No Trace was so good. I loved it. And then I had a movie called Monster. And this is a courtroom drama. It's about an African-American kid who is played very well by Kelvin Harrison Jr. And he is charged with being sort of the lookout for this robbery of a bodega, and it turns into a murder. And so he gets charged. He's innocent, and he has this attorney. And this was a frustrating movie because I think the director really got in the way of his own movie. He did all of these things with all of these sort of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but all of these different sort of flourishes, and they make the character, they make him a filmmaker. And so there's like all these sort of speeches on film and light and darkness and shadow and these various sort of I don't know, sort of these sequences where there's this like montage of his friends, and that's supposed to be all meaningful, and it flashes back and forth, and I know I just found it actually kind of nauseating at a certain point. I found it distracting from the main story, and it was frustrating because all of the actors I thought came to play and were pretty good. Jennifer Hudson plays his mom; she's good, and it was a good movie, except for the filming of it, which is a huge deal. And so I can only give it like 2.5 stars because I really just didn't enjoy the structure and how it was put together really at all. And it did feel sort of cliched in the end, kind of, I don't know, it was just a shame because it really had a lot of potential, I think. But in the end, it wasn't a very good movie, even though it had a good movie in there, if that makes sense. It was too bad. But anyway, yeah. So, but Jennifer Hudson's good. All the acting was good. It was all good as far as acting. Okay, then I saw on. So then, let's see here. Sorry. Okay, so now we're getting to today, and I saw 2 movies today. The first one is a movie called Search, and this is a really fun little movie. It is by a director named Anish Shaganti, I guess how you say his name. Anyway, and I guess there was a movie called Unfriended, which kind of did a similar thing, where the whole thing is like looking at a computer screen. And so you see the character go into Facebook, go into YouTube, go into all this stuff. He's trying to find his daughter. His daughter's gone missing. So he's putting all the clues together. You see him make phone calls. You see him, use all these different things, trying to put the pieces together. There's some red herrings. And it was, I thought, a lot of fun. I thought it was clever. John Cho is the main lead of the movie, and his daughter is the one missing. And there's a couple other, Deborah Messing is in it as a cop, and then there's a couple other actors. But I don't know. I thought it was surprisingly actually funny. It was tense. It surprised me a little bit. I mean, I kind of knew where it was coming. It was it's one of those movies you don't want to overthink, because I think there are definitely some holes and some issues and stuff. But like, just as far as an experience, I thought it was really fun. I enjoyed it. And John Cho's good. He's always, I think, pretty good in movies. And so, anyway, I think you should see it if you just want it's kind of similar in feel to like Happy Death Day, or these kind of horror movies or thrillers, whatever you want to call them, that are just sort of tongue in cheek, and you can kind of enjoy the experience, not too bloody, not too, and they're just sort of supposed to be kind of fun. That's how I felt about it. And it was just kind of novel. I guess I haven't seen Unfriended, so maybe if I'd seen Unfriended, I would not have liked this as much as I did. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. So anyway, and yeah, they they use just a bunch of the different apps and different stuff like that. But it was fun. Okay, and then I saw the last one was a movie called Kusama Infinity, and this was a final documentary of the festival about a artist named Kusama. I think she's an artist that if you saw her stuff, you'd be like, oh yeah, that looks familiar. She does a lot of sort of installation pieces. She does a lot of kind of pop art type artwork, a lot of polka dots and different things she's sort of famous for. And so this just kind of goes over her life and starts with her in this really conservative family in Japan, and how she responded to that, responded to growing up amongst the war, World War II. She actually worked sewing parachutes as a little girl, and how that affected her, and then sort of her experience as a hippie and the art movement then, and then into the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, went through her whole career. It was interesting. I thought I didn't know anything about her, and so it was interesting to learn about her. The people making the documentary I guess they spent like literally like 15 years making this documentary. It was pretty amazing. They just had to keep pushing through and getting grants, and different things would happen, and so they are very, very persistent to make this documentary. And she was definitely an unusual character. There is a lot of nudity in this because she does a lot of like modern free art or whatever. So that's the only counsel I would give, I guess, about this one. But I guess this one was picked up by Magnolia Films, so maybe it'll get like an actual semi-wide release. So who knows? But it was interesting to learn about an artist, and the way that her art sort of evolved and changed in the different eras was interesting to me. So that was the last film of the festival. And so let me give you my ranking of all of the films of the festival. 18 films. And so here we go. We'll start at the bottom. The one that I liked the least out of the festival was Lou Over the Wall. This is one of the animated films. I was very disappointed in it. It was hard to watch, honestly. It was very spastic, and I just felt like it was just, and it kind of made me nauseous. I didn't like the story, and the story that was in there, I felt like it was very Ponyo heavy, and I don't know, I just really didn't like anything about it. It had some cute character designs, but that's about it. I was very disappointed, and it's a shame because it's the first anime film to ever be at Sundance, but it was a pretty big disappointment for me. So then my number 17 is White Fang. This was the other film from the animated film that I watched. And yeah, it's sad that my lowest two are both the animated films. It's a shame. This does have some nice moments, but I hated the dogfights so much. I thought they were so exploitative and so brutal and so more than they needed to be. And just like you could hear like bones crack, and just it was just way too much, I thought, and it really ruined the movie for me. I would never recommend it to anybody. I'm not even that like sensitive of dog person. I thought it was too much even for me. So I don't know. That was very disappointing. And some of the animation, some of it was good, some of it was not good. So I couldn't even sort of excuse it on that level. So that's where it is, 17 for me. Now number 16 is Ophelia. Ophelia was terrible. It was so funny, though. I kind of did enjoy watching it, and I kind of recommend watching it because it was so deliciously bad. Oh my gosh, you have this, see, it's the twin of the queen that's a witch in the forest, and you have Ophelia all of a sudden as this like feminist heroine, like wielding a sword and ridiculousness. It was so bad. I mean, there were some nice, like Daisy Ridley has some nice moments. It's not her fault, but just the script was so bad. It was kind of hilarious. So yeah, I told my friends, I said, and Romeo and Juliet looks accurate compared to this nonsense of Ophelia. It was very, but it was funny. So number 15. Number 15, I have Nancy, and this has some pretty good performances, but it just had no story, and I just didn't like any of the characters, and it was just kind of boring for me about this girl who decides that she might be the birth daughter of this couple that their daughter got abducted, years before. She does look a lot like the aged up picture. So she goes over there, but I don't know. It just was kind of flat for me. Didn't really like it. So number 14, I have Monster that I just talked about. Some good stuff, but I can't really recommend it. Number 13, I have Crime and Punishment. This is a documentary about the NYPD, how they still are requiring quotas and different things, even though it's against the law. And there was a lot of good information in there, but it was too long, and I just found myself continually falling asleep. Excuse me. And I would rather just read an article. Honestly, it was just not presented in a way that was compelling to me. It was just too slow. So number 12, I have Kusama Infinity. And this was good. Like I said, I enjoyed this, but I don't know, it just ended up at number 12. Because I guess I like these other ones a little bit better. So number 11 is Genesis 2.0. This movie is really weird. It's this weird combination of following these ivory hunters that are looking for the tusks of woolly mammoths and hunting them down, mixed with following these cloning scientists in China. And the cloning scientists in China, it will make you so terrified. It was so freaky. The things that they're like trying to do, their main goal, they want to create to clone a woolly mammoth. And so like at one point they actually find some blood and they're really excited. And like I just kept thinking, did we not learn anything from Jurassic Park? And Otis says, I feel like Monster almost needs a new title because I felt like that's been used so many times. It's a bit too generic. Yeah, the whole reason it's called Monster is because at the very beginning of the trial, the prosecutor's like, this person right here, this man, he's a monster. And so, I don't know, it's a little heavy-handed, so. I love when the reasoning for something ranking, I don't know, it's just number 12. Yeah, there you go. What can you say? I know Genesis 2.0 was just so weird and so upsetting. It was a little boring at times, but man, that cloning stuff freaks me out. It just completely freaks me out. And they have these like huge laboratories, these huge buildings. Just that's their goal, is to clone this woolly mammoth. They have these giant statues outside the buildings, and like, oh my gosh, the Chinese are so scary to me. Anyway, so I think everybody should see it, but it is a little bit dry in spots, I'll warn you. But it was very weird. Then number 10, I have On Her Shoulders. This is a documentary about this woman named Nadia, who is a Yazidi refugee. And she became like a Goodwill ambassador and just sort of following her story. And she was really awesome, and her team was really amazing, and it was moving. And the only thing, it was just so frustrating to me because she speaks before the UN, and the UN is just completely useless in my opinion. Like, it's a place to give speeches and stuff, but it's completely useless in actually like changing anything or enforcing anything. They haven't been able to do anything with this woman, and except give her some title and clap for her, but they haven't done anything for her people. And so it was so frustrating. It's like we put all this money into this organization that's completely useless. And but that's just my opinion. But it was just so frustrating because they act like this is this big deal when she's speaking for the UN. And I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but like it's completely useless as far as really enacting change, in my opinion. So that was frustrating to me. Number 9, I have Science Fair. This is a documentary about the International Science Fair, which happens in Los Angeles every year, and they followed kids from all over the world, including this one group from New York that they were able, this amazing teacher, she was amazing, and she got 9 of her students into this International Science Fair, which is like amazing. Like whole countries only have 2 people, and she gets 9 from one high school. It was really cool. But I think that they did focus on too many students. I think they should cut it down by 2 or 3 just to make it a little tighter. It got a little slow for me in spots, but it was really inspirational in a lot of other spots too. So it was good. Number 8, I have The Price of Everything. This is a documentary about how they price art and the art collecting market. It was really interesting. You can be able to watch this on HBO, and they interview a lot of different collectors and a lot of different artists and a lot of different stuff. And in a way, it was kind of sad to see like all of this art going into these collectors' homes where it's just going to be enjoyed by one person and not everybody's going to be able to enjoy it. And just some of the ridiculous things that are counted as art and like the fact that these people will spend millions of dollars. My only flaw with the movie is that I felt like the documentary could have pushed these collectors a little harder, could have challenged them a little bit more about, well, why are you spending all of this money on art instead of helping people, or whatever, why aren't you donating these to museums or what's going on. So that would be my only thing, is that I think it could have been a little tougher on these people, but it was still really good. It was interesting. Another documentary is called Schieffelin. This is a documentary about a child prodigy chef. And it was so cool. His name is Flynn McGarry, and his mother believes in free range parenting, which is something I really believe in, and really like it's kind of a homeschool movement where you like support your kids and the interests that they have, and really like let them sort of in a way lead their education, and you give them the freedom uh, to play and go around. You're not constantly worried about you're not reckless, but you give them the free range they need. And I really believe in it. She was awesome. She like supported her son at 10 years old having this supper club in their house, and it became this like big thing. And I mean, I just think that's like a cool parent who's like, the kid's like, this is what I want to do, and they're like, okay, you want to jump, how far, I'll help you do it. And she was just cool. And I thought it was a cool picture of a family more than just some child prodigy movie. And so anyway, that was a good one. Then I have Search at number 6 because it was just so much fun. I think most people, if they just want to have a good time with a thriller, I think you'll like it. So 6 is Search. Then 5, I have Minding the Gap about the skateboarders. That was really good. 4, I have Butterflies, which I talked about. It was so funny. And then 3, I have Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is the Fred Rogers documentary. He had a show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on television, PBS, for many, many, many years. So it was really close to my heart. And it was just nice to see in the world where I feel like every day there's a new person who has this like secret life or this secret scandal or whatever. And it was just nice to see that like even Sundance couldn't dig up any real dirt on this guy. He was just a really nice guy. And just what a difference it makes having one person in some people's life, even if it is on TV, who says that you are valued and that you are loved. And the way that he would talk to kids, and the way there's a really great sequence in here where he is speaking before Congress, and they're about to take away the funding for PBS, and he just talks about how children need to know that they're loved, and how he believes he could do that. And it was this really great speech. And by the end of the speech, the congressman's like, I think that's amazing. You just got your $20 million. It was really cool. So that's my number 3. My number 2 is 8th Grade. This is by a guy named Bo Burnham. I guess he's like some kind of celebrity or something. I'd never heard of him before, but he wrote and directed this, and it was so good. I loved it. I tend to be pretty mixed on coming of age movies. They don't tend to I feel like even though I liked some things about Edge of 17, and I did really like a lot of things much more than Edge of 17 about Lady Bird, but there's a harshness to those characters that I have a hard time kind of relating to, because yeah, I was like a grumpy teen, but I was never as mean as these kids are in these movies. And I have a hard time kind of relating to that. They're just being so cruel and unkind to your family that they are. But here you have just such a sweet, loving, kind movie. Yeah, she's grumpy, but like not the same way, I feel like. And I don't know, I just loved her character. The actress is so cute, and the things that she learns, I just could relate to. And I felt there is a lot of humor. Her dad is like a saint in the movies, just lovely. And I don't know, I just thought it was great. And so yeah, so number 2, 8th Grade. My number 1 is Leave No Trace. And I talked about that earlier and how great it was. It was just so lovely. And it's kind of cool because you have 2 movies in a row there that are about single dads and their daughters. So it's kind of cool coming out of Sundance. And so my top 5 are Leave No Trace, 8th Grade, Won't You Be My Neighbor, Butterflies, and Minding the Gap. So yeah, what a fun experience. Even the ones that were bad, it's still kind of all about the whole experience. It's like gives you sort of that full experience of film going and filmmaking, and that you wouldn't get if they were all like home runs. And so it was a great experience, and I hope you enjoyed these live recaps. And let me know if you Oh, it says Mason says Bo Burnham was in The Big Sick. Oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Cool. Yeah, he was. I wasn't a name that I was familiar with. My brother said that he has a bunch of comedy specials that he's super, super, super funny. So I definitely have to check him out because it was very well written. And also the other reason I liked Eighth Grade is because she's also a YouTuber, and the way she gives advice and stuff felt very authentic and very true. And of course she like of course isn't living her own advice that she's giving. Anyway, so I definitely really related as a YouTuber to that part of it as well. So it was really, really good. And so that's my recap of Sundance. Let me know if you like these live streams. I could certainly come up with other topics and do more of them if you think that they're fun. I'd be happy to. So let me know. And thanks so much for your support. And let me know in the comment section which ones of these do you think sound the best or are you the most interested in. I'll put a link to my letterbox and you can if you need a reminder of what all of them were. So thanks again. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great Sunday. And there should be some good content coming up. Obviously, I've been at the festival all week, so I'll just do the best I can this next week. But anyway, hope you enjoy it, and talk to you all later. Bye.